Lin took a deep breath, steadying himself before offering a respectful bow. The murderous intent in his eyes faded, but his aura still carried that sharp, dangerous edge. White Divine quickly asked what he'd been up to in the abyss. Lin laid it all out, starting from stumbling upon the light elemental dungeon, slaughtering demons by the dozens, wiping out multiple demon cities, taking down the demon lord's clone, and finally dipped before facing the real deal. Even someone as composed as Meng Anwen couldn't hide his reaction. His eyes widened as he asked if he heard that right. Had our boy really taken down the demon lord's clone? Lin nodded, explaining that he barely managed it thanks to his new ability, his primordial rune and, well, a crap ton of corpses. He admitted that he wouldn't have stood a chance if the demon lord had fought differently, dodging, dragging the fight out instead of going head-to-head. And if the clone had decided to run, Lin wouldn't have been able to stop him either. White Divine chuckled knowingly. He was all too familiar with that stubborn bull's nature, always trying to brute force everything. But regardless, both he and Meng Anwen agreed. What Lin had done was absolutely insane. Meng Anwen even laughed, saying Lin had made history. Normally, the abyss invaded the human world, slaughtering cities, but this time, Lin had flipped the script and brought the massacre straight to them. Still, there was a problem. His killing intent was far too strong now. This wasn't something they could just brush off. If left unchecked, this could seriously mess with his mind. And with Lin already hitting level 39, White Divine made it clear. No more dungeons, no leveling up, and absolutely no second-class transfer until they sorted this out. Lin, understanding the gravity of the situation, agreed to follow his teacher's advice. White Divine suggested he take it easy, read some books, relax, clear his mind. No fighting, no thinking, just rest. In a few days, White Divine would check in on him. Lin bowed slightly, then left. As he watched Lin go, White Divine sighed, scratching his head. Then, turning to Meng Anwen, he muttered, "Did he really have to talk to that old madman?" His expression made it clear. He was not looking forward to dealing with whoever they were talking about. Meng Anwen just laughed, teasing White Divine, asking if his pride was really so important that he couldn't set it aside for his disciple. White Divine scoffed, knocked on the stone table, and grumbled, saying his old pal shouldn't underestimate him. Meanwhile, Lin returned to Genesis Academy. The moment he stepped onto campus, heads turned. It wasn't just him that drew attention. It was the chilling aura around him, that invisible yet suffocating pressure of someone who had walked through hell and back. His wounds were patched up. He finally got a well-needed shower, and he was back in his usual clothes. Guess anyone hoping for a wardrobe upgrade was out of luck. But even clean and refreshed, nothing could hide the lingering killing intent clinging to him. Students instinctively backed away, as if death itself had brushed past them. Ignoring the stairs, Lin made a beeline for the library. The quiet, peaceful atmosphere was exactly what he needed. Books were supposed to calm the mind, right? But no matter how hard he tried to focus, that deep-rooted killing intent kept creeping back, twisting his thoughts. His eyes grew cold. His mind whispered only one thing, which was to kill. Kill every last demon. The moment he realized it, he shook his head, snapping himself out of it. And just like that, 3 days passed. Then, White Divine's voice came through his communicator, telling him to come over. Lin didn't waste time. He arrived at the small courtyard where White Divine was waiting. This time, White Divine was ready to take him somewhere new. The scene shifted to a desolate wasteland where even the sky was stained red. The air was thick with the scent of blood, and an eerie stillness hung over the land. The moment Lin stepped in, his body tensed. His killing intent flared up uncontrollably, but before he could lose himself in it, White Divine gave him a light tap on the shoulder, snapping him back. Then White Divine asked if he knew where they were. Lin just shook his head. So White Divine explained. This place didn't belong to the human territory, the Abyss, or even the Dragonlands. Like the UN battlefield and the Eternal Trial Grounds, this was an independent space known as the Blood-Stained Land. Lin thought the name was fitting and asked if this place could help suppress the killing aura inside him. White Divine confirmed, but then casually mentioned that an annoying old bloodthirsty bastard lived here. Before Lin could even process that, a booming voice echoed from nowhere, calling White Divine out for talking nonsense. The voice even fired back, calling him the real annoying old bastard. White Divine's expression shifted, not from the insult, but from the incoming attack. Above them, a massive blade came crashing down from the sky. White Divine's energy surged instantly. He hadn't expected this crazy old bastard to attack him and Lin without warning. His gaze turned cold as he fired back a sharp warning. If the guy so much as scratched his disciple, he'd rip his damn bones apart. With that, White Divine launched himself into the air, his fist colliding head-on with the descending blade. Fist and blade clashed, sending a dazzling explosion of energy ripping through the wasteland. Luckily, White Divine had already shoved Lin out of the way before making his move. Even then, the sheer shockwave from their clash shattered Lin's skeletal armor on the spot. His eyes widened in disbelief. Just the aftershock of their normal attacks was on par with a full-powered strike from the Demon Lord's clone. Then, the massive blade struck again. This time, White Divine was pissed. His voice carried real anger as he snapped at the attacker, demanding to know if the guy had lost their goddamn mind. Lin wasn't sure what was going on, but it sure looked like this guy seriously wanted his teacher dead. Without hesitation, White Divine retaliated, exchanging blow after blow with the mysterious attacker. To Lin's shock, he couldn't even keep up with their movements. Then suddenly, someone else appeared. A figure grabbed the hilt of the massive blade and, without warning, swung it downward with terrifying force. The moment Lin saw that attack, something inside him snapped. The killing intent he had been suppressing for days surged like a raging tide, drowning his thoughts in an instant. White Divine cursed under his breath, realizing this entire trip might have been a terrible mistake. But it was already too late. The sheer bloodlust pouring out of Lin was suffocating. His voice turned cold as he muttered to himself, "Divine level or not, if they're his enemy, he will kill them." With that, he activated Mighty Soldiers, summoning his legion of skeletons. One hand was ready to cast Slowing Curse, while the other prepared to unleash Bone Spikes. Soon, the skellies surged forward, and only then did the mysterious attacker finally come into full view. Floating in the sky, the man smirked, calling our boy a mere level 39 kiddo, saying he sure looks intimidating, but it's probably nothing but a flashy bluff.